well, I made it up. It's a complete made-up job. I was an East London guy from a construction family. All of my family were bricklayers, even my mum, believe it or not. And I didn't want that for my life. And so, you know, it was the time of the 80s and I wanted better for me. And of course, it was everyone walking around in like the Gucci t-shirts and, you know, the Wall Street brokers, and Wall Street was the big movie and stuff. So everyone wanted that and I wanted it as well. So I talked my way into getting a job in London in a stockbroking firm. And I worked there for about 6 months. And then there was an opening in Hong Kong and I talked my way into getting transferred. And basically I'd survived on a bunch of fluff and crap up until that point, because I landed in Hong Kong on the Saturday and I was fired on the Tuesday. So that was my total banking career, very short. I started hanging around nightclubs in Hong Kong because I just didn't know what to do with my life. Ended up starting work on the door, and I was a doorman. And then suddenly started noticing the people were changing. You know, money didn't look like money had looked 10, 20 years earlier than that. People were making money and wearing black t-shirts and jeans and not really caring and not really knowing what to do. You know, they'd designed a widget, they now had $20 million, and they were in my club. So I started throwing some little parties and then getting people into other parties and then getting people into parties and events in other countries. And before I knew it, I was actually the go-to guy to get to something in Cannes or Stade or Palm Beach or Vail. And I just started traveling to do more promotions, and I did it with the misconception and the delusional aspect that if I had a Rolodex of really wealthy clients, I could take that to a bank and that bank would employ me. I started to develop these parties and you know, make these events happen and try to go into the banks with these clients, trying to get a job at the bank. And the banks actually started sponsoring some of these events. And I was still delusional that I would become a banker. And this actually went up to about 2000. And eventually the banks started kind of like paying me these consulting fees. But I realized that I had a bank account for Bluefish and I had a banking account for my consulting fees. This one was doing quite well, and bankers don't make a lot of money. But I was working like 5-7 days a week on this and making squat. And I was throwing 2 parties a month and killing it. So eventually I just realized that, you know, I wasn't going to get anywhere. And so I started looking for a job. And at that time, the clients were like, well, aren't you still doing this with Monaco? And I'll be like, well, yeah. And aren't you still doing this with, you know, the award season in Hollywood? And can you get me into the fashion week? So they suddenly, through them asking me the questions, it developed what Bluefish was. So the word Bluefish kind of came up in a very kind of strange way. I never wanted to work for pricks. And so I always wanted to deal with people that I liked and were a bit cool and, you know, weren't fine to being themselves, confident, self-assured people. So what I did was I used to send out where this party was going to be, and I would send out a password. And the password was always something stupid and ridiculous. And it was things like 1 fish, 2 fish, red fish, Bluefish. Name 2 of the Teletubbies. Name the lion out of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. And that would be on my invite, and they would turn up to the front door and the guy would go, Aslan. Or would say, Bluefish, and we'd let them in. But you used to get these twats turn up and they'd be like, yeah, I'm here for the party. They'd be me and this other meathead on the door, and the party's kicking off on the back of a yacht or something, and I'd be like, there's no party here. And I would blank them, and if they never had just the humble aspect to be able to just play along, we used to just kick them out. I'm sorry, mate, there's no party here for you tonight, you know, off you go. And then the next person would come up, and so that's how the Bluefish came about. And people usually literally phoned up one of the banks and said, is that Bluefish company part of the bank? Because they saw it sponsoring, and they called me into the office, and they said to me, who's Bluefish? And I remember sitting there going, I don't know. And they said, well, they threw this party you did. I said, no, that was the password. And they said, well, they think you're called Bluefish. So we realized we had this following, and we'd built up this kind of subculture by accident and mistake and shits and giggles. So then we made the fatal flaw of every entrepreneur. You focus on what you got, and you just destroy it and fuck it up and rip away anything that was naive and fun and innocent that made it what it was. So we tried to incorporate a company and come up with a fancy business card and all of these kind of things. And we came up with this beautiful term, beautiful name, Trianon. And Trianon is the ultimate Greek god. It's where the gods go for the final decision. And we thought the final decision of everything, Trianon, yeah, that sounds great. And people used to phone us up and go, is that Bluefish? We'd be like, well, we're called Trianon now. And they'd be like, yeah, great. And then they would just keep calling up going, yeah, is that Bluefish? So in the end, we realised that we were trying to be too pompous and screw it. So we scrapped the company name, sold the business cards, went back to Bluefish, and that was it. So that's how Bluefish was born. They've seen us in the media, they've seen us in the press, so they have some kind of inclination of who we are, but most importantly, the tone of voice that we carry. So they step into the application process, they put it through there, and we write on there very simply, not everyone that applies is getting in. We're going to interview you. We're going to see if you're Bluefish material. So we don't cloud it, and we say on there, don't contact us to pick up your laundry and walk your dog. We're not that kind of concierge firm. So we make it very clear the tone that we have. And then when they apply, we then work out a time to phone them and we have a conversation on the phone. And on the phone, at the end of it, we can say, look, I think we can work with you. I think we can do something. Or respectfully, I think we are something that you don't want. We may be offering too much for you. Or you don't really need us, you know. And hey, there's another couple of companies which I know are good and work on that level. So we don't take everyone that comes on board, but you've got to be willing that if you're going to apply via the internet and on our website, then we're going to interview you every single time. Yeah, we have a Bluefish clause, and that basically just captures any way that if we don't like the client, they're gone. And it says it in there very easily. For any reason whatsoever, we can kick you out. You know, so if you're not playing nice. If we send a client, say, backstage at the Milan Fashion Week, and they're there and they are being stupid, they could potentially harm the relationship that we have with the person that got us in there. So we don't want to damage that for future people. So we grill our clients and we really get to know them before we let them get into that standard of stuff. So we're very protective about our clients. We're even more protective about our access. For a start, I have no secrets. I think that's been my secret. It's certainly been my magic sauce. I am who I am. I say what I think. You'll know exactly where you stand with me every single moment. And I think that's that simplicity, that clean, fresh attitude is what's made us who we are. We're not there for the money. We run a business. I employ people to take care of the money and make sure the lights are on and everyone gets paid. But I have no idea how much money we have because I tend to find that when you have a lot of money, you get lazy. When you have a little bit of money, you hustle. And neither of those two extremes are good for your system. So I have other people to look after the money and I focus on what I'm good at. And just being able to speak to someone, find out if it works for you, if it's something you want to do, if it's of an interest to you, then I'm willing to get on board and make your bucket list item come true. I can answer that with one that we haven't done yet. Which is usually pretty good because we do get the people saying, oh, so what's the wackiest thing you've done? And the answer's different to the crowd you're speaking to. So we've done the New York Fashion Week, for argument's sake, where a client actually wanted to walk the runway. We've sent people down to the Titanic. We've sent people up into space. We've turned a mogul into James Bond in Monaco, where he literally was chased through the streets by spies and a sexy vixen. So we've done all of those kind of things. So to give you something that we're planning now, which is pretty wild, we have this client that actually wants to get married in the Vatican. So the client is flying me into Rome tomorrow. I've got appointments at the Vatican to arrange that he's going to be able to marry his beautiful fiancée in the Vatican. And while I'm doing that, he wants to surprise her by taking her down to Venice on Tuesday. They're there till Thursday, but on Wednesday, they're having a private dinner for two over the canals of Venice, and we've got Seal, Mariah Carey, well, we're still confirming some of these, but we've got Seal, Mariah Carey, Alicia Keys, and Toni Braxton going in to perform at different times for this single night. So it's pretty wild, it's pretty crazy, and this client keeps me on my toes. He's done a number of things. We've got limited edition Birkin handbags. We've got him to meet royalty in London. So this client's probably our most invigorating, engaging client at the moment. So it's not always expensive. We got a client that's actually contacted us because him and his wife have been following this upcoming country and western star, and they're going over to Tennessee. And they actually said to us that, we'd really like to meet this guy. So we reached out to the management and we said, look, you've got these loyal following. We've got these people that are actually traveling around watching you and they want to meet you. Now, with that amount of passion involved in putting something together, of course, the agent is like dead happy that he's building up a loyal following. The talent is really excited that he's actually getting somewhere where people are willing to travel. It was $900, where they got 2 tickets, they went backstage, and he signed one of his guitars for them. So it's not expensive, it's the way you go about getting it. Some of the requests we get, you know, you'll be surprised at how much money takes a back seat in the actual experience. You know, the passion's the first thing. And we had this Harvard lecturer that said that his wife had always wanted to smash a car. So we asked her, you know, do you want to race a car? Do you want to learn stunt driving, NASCAR? And no, I just want to get one car, smash it into another car. Well, the only controlled sport that actually allows you to do that is stock car racing. So by, I don't know, through the history of being Bluefish or whatever, we have a pretty damn good Rolodex. We actually called the head of the stock car derby on his cell phone, and he was on his farm. And I told him I have these 2 Harvard lecturers that want to do this. Where are they based? They're based here. And I said, you know, let me know what the pricing is going to be. Well, we've got a couple of race teams in that area, and there's a couple of practice fields, and I'll come back to you. And this whole experience was being built before I ever got it quoted. So what we had was these Harvard lecturer, his wife, and the family, the head of the stock car derby. 4 teams got involved. They put a field up together, they supplied the cars, and they made an actual team for her, with her number on it. And I still couldn't get the bloody quote and price tag out of it. So we put this whole thing, VH1 heard about it, contacted us, wanted to film the whole damn thing. So anyway, it came down to it, and I in the end, had to abruptly speak to the guy and look, you may be pricing this out. You may have gone to all of this work and the clients can't afford it. So I need to know what it's doing. And he said, you're getting us into a media stream, and you're getting us attention that we normally couldn't get. You know, the whole idea of stock car is that we're all thick degenerates, and you've got Harvard lecturers that want to be part of our sport. We're good. You're okay. And so then we had to get a film crew to film it, and VH1 were like, we'll do it. Anyway, I never got a single fee. Wow. So I had to go to the client and said, look, I put a lot of money and energy in this, but usually I can stick fit. I can't price it. So he just gave me a check as a tip, and that was it. So I'm always asked, what have I wanted to do, or what's on my bucket list, or something like that. Well, I live vicariously through my clients. I get to piggyback their experiences by planning them and managing them and overseeing them and watching them from the sidelines. But I'm actually probably one of the dullest people you'll meet. I make a mean barbecue, I work on my motorbikes, and that's it. You know, I really don't roll around with big jewellery and have Rolls Royces lined up. You know, I don't have any interest in any of that. And I think that's probably one of the things that helps with my business, the fact that I'm not caught up in it. I don't suppose you want an addict selling drugs, you know. So the fact that I'm the complete opposite to the lifestyle that I provide, I think allows me to be a lot more grounded. You know, I have three kids. I met my wife when she was 16, so we've been together forever. We adopt dogs. We seem to keep doing it. So we're just dull. So no, I don't have anything. I just, as I say, just live vicariously through the requests of my clients. No, I agree with what you're saying. And we all want to be rich. And again, being the construction boy in East London, I wanted to be rich. And I worked for Ferrari, so I had Ferraris. I did some work for Bentley, so I had Bentleys. I had a Bentley. They gave me one of the GT Bentleys for a year when I was in Palm Beach. And that's a pretty damn cool perk. And at the end of the year, when I gave it back, I had 188 miles on it. Because every time I'd go anywhere, I'd open up the garage, jump on one of my motorbikes, and leave the Bentley there. So I never actually used the Bentley at all. So it just wasn't my kind of thing. I think I'm lucky that I got to see what other people see value in, and I got to just kind of taste it. A lot of the times you yearn for these riches because you don't know what they're like. You know, you want to be in a penthouse in Monaco. You want to taste foie gras. You want to eat the aged Kobe steaks, and you want to drink the 58 Dom Perignons. And then when you do, and you just go, all right, well, I'd much prefer this, or I'd have preferred a Corona, or I'd have preferred a burger, or so, you know, so you're able to kind of visualize and know what you're talking about. And I think once you've actually done those things for so many times and lived in that kind of world, and also seen a lot of the cynical side of it, where people put so much is put into what car you drive, what handbag you have, what watch you have, that you just kind of look past it in the end. And so I think I was very lucky from a young age to just go, no, that's not for me. Now, you asked a question about, you know, wanting to be rich. I'm the wealthiest guy on the planet, hands down. Got kids, dogs, beautiful home, enough whiskey in the house and food to feed everyone. What more can I want? You know, so I think it's your perception of how rich you are that really matters. If you ever want to be grounded, get kids. You know, because there's nothing dafter than, you know, you do a speech, you get an award, you get fanfare, you get asked for this, you get off that stage, you're on a high, and the kids are like, well, hurry up, we need to go ice skating. You know, they don't care about all those things because you're just dad. And then they just look at you and they go, why do they want to film you? You know, I've got the kids inside now and I'm like, well, there's a crew outside doing an interview, and they're like, oh, okay then. And they're in there in the PlayStation, they don't give a damn. And so I really try to make them respect hard work. And when they want something, I say, yeah, you know, we can get you that, but you realize you've got to do something. And so for the younger ones, I will actually say, you've got to do this one. But the older one, I come out and say, look, I need some money for, you know, some bike parts, or I need to get this for my roller skates and stuff. And I said, well, great, come to me with a proposal. And he's now got to think what he could do that would make my life easier. So he'll come over and go, your truck's looking a bit dirty. How about I clean it up for you? Or, you know, how about if I clean this? And he's got to come to me and now propose this solution to what he wants. So I just try to keep it really basic and really simple. Oh, you have to value, you know, people put too much onus on money. People say you have to value the dollar. You have to value the work. You know, you have to know what it takes to get some work. You know, if someone does something really easy and they make $1 million, well, good luck to them. But you've got to value the guy that's, you know, slogging away, cleaning that hill, or cleaning up those bins, or washing those tanks, or just whatever it is, you know, getting his hands dirty. You've got to value hard work. And I think that's the downside, when people don't realize it's hard work. And it's only easy because the hard work was done before. You know, I'm here 18 years later, I can make a phone call and get a meeting with the Vatican because I've had all that hard work for 18 years, which has allowed me to have the credibility to make that phone call. So, it looks easy only because it's been ugly earlier. If we look at the roundup of my clients, 99% of my clients are actually self-made. You know, they're entrepreneurs, and even those that have come from rich families have gone out and made their own businesses. And as an entrepreneur, you share the common and same trait that you're constantly looking for other things. You're constantly intrigued, interested, wanting to know what's in that door. How does that work? It's the kid that opens up the back of an electrical thing and goes, well, how does that work? All entrepreneurs have that. So they're always interested in, well, if I go to Monaco, you know, where do the celebrities go, and what are these after parties, and what does it look like to actually walk the red carpet and have a sea of cameras go off? And so there's this constant nosy little child aspect of an entrepreneur that I'm there to satisfy. Keep your word, and keep your word, and then keep your word, because without your word, you're nothing. And finally, keep it simple. That's it. If you say you're going to do something, do it. There you go, it's done. Just simple. You'll be surprised how far you can grow from that. Yeah, I hate flying around the world, meeting interesting people. It's terrible. I don't have a job. You know, I wake up in the morning and I put the coffee on and I pat the dogs and I go out to my computer. And as I walk towards my computer every single day, I'm thinking, what the hell has someone thought about last night that we're now going to be engaged with this morning? And it's like Christmas, isn't it? You know, I have absolutely no idea what's gonna happen. I hit that button, I look at it, and I start scrolling through the emails, and we got this client that wants to travel, and well, okay, you know, I'll send that to so and so. That's not exciting me. And this guy wants a yacht charter. Okay, well, they can do that. And then you'll get one in there that says, I want to do this, or my wife wants to do this, or have you any relationships with this? And I go, that's it. That's the excitement. That's the hard on for today. So, and no, I'm not quite sure, I suppose, being an addict from that side, why you would ever want to give that up.